Okay. I'm here at Illuxcon with artist David Palumbo. Thank you for speaking with me.
Sure.
I'd like to start by asking, is there an artwork here you're most proud of and why?
There is. Well, there's a couple that I'm really proud of for different reasons. I think the one that's really kind of showcased the most here is this. It's the cover for Aliens: Life and Death #1 for Dark Horse, and that one is just one that I love working on that series. I love working with that particular client, and when they, I turned in sketch ideas, and they picked one that I was really excited to do. So I decided to make it about twice as big as I normally would for a project like that. And I'm particularly proud of that one to have here at the show, just because sometimes, I think the physical size and presence of a piece, you need to see the original to appreciate that. So no matter how much you're happy with how the piece reproduces, it's like it's that in-person feeling that I think really counts. And so that's one that I'm just happy to actually finally have it in a place where people can see what it looks like in person.
Yeah. Do you have a title for it? It's just
Swallowed Whole. Yeah.
Swallowed Whole. Okay. Yeah. How do you know when a work is finished?
Usually have a pretty clear idea of what needs to be resolved, and as I've been exploring a little bit more as to, I really like to leave certain things less described than others. I feel like a piece works best when your focal areas have that really kind of precise definition, but then the supporting areas are more left to suggestion.
Okay.
So that's really the only tricky part for me there. It's like there's just a stage when I'm working on it that really those focal areas feel right to me. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to explain that exactly, other than it's got that level of depth and realism to it that I feel it needs. And usually those are the things that I finish first. And then it's the peripheral stuff that I want to have maybe a little bit more suggested than specifically defined. Those are the more kind of we'll see how far this needs to go. That's why I need to have the focal area done first, because then it's just kind of well, how much more do we need to do before it all kind of holds together? But once it's done, usually, once I feel like it's done, then I move on to the next thing, and I very rarely ever come back and feel. I know some people have that kind of I never really know, and for me, I think it's more of just mentally, I just move on to the next thing and let that just be as it is. And
all right. What inspires you? Or I was going to ask what inspired this piece also, but it was a commission piece.
Yeah.
You said.
Yeah. I mean, in general, my commission pieces and my personal pieces, I think, all have inspiration from similar places, which is just trying to create an emotional connection, and that emotional connection a lot of the time is really just about feeling the mood, feeling the the texture of the place that the picture is, where it might be my work tends to be a little bit dark and more spooky and eerie and that kind of thing, and so finding something that can create that emotional feeling, and if possible, I like to do that without having to be really necessarily explicit in anything, but just maybe a little bit more psychologically interesting or that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What is your most important artist tool? Is there something you can't live without in your studio?
I feel like my tools are pretty basic and boiled down as far as actual painting. I mean, I have a very limited selection of brushes that I use. I always use the same colors on my palette.
Okay.
I'm a traditional media artist, so it's pretty basic. But I think that one of the, I think of those as essential because that's what you use to physically make the marks with, you know.
Right, yeah.
But in addition to that, I would say my camera, which my camera is a tool that I use for helping me, like, in generating the reference for the piece. It's something that is essential for me to then, like, you know, transfer the piece to the client that I'm working for.
Okay.
Because, you know, nobody ships artwork anymore. So just and I just love photography in general, and the more that I have become interested in photography as its own art form, I feel like the more that's informed my paintings, the way that I visualize and the way that I think. So, you know, probably that would be the one tool that I value the most, that I could theoretically paint without, but it would, I think, be, you know, very hard for me to imagine letting that go and being able to do the work that I want to do.
Okay. All right. Is there an element of art you enjoy working with most, and why?
How do you mean, like, an element?
Well, people have interpreted it different ways, you know, style of art or something within the art process.
Okay.
So whatever whatever it makes you think of. You know?
I mean, I suppose the way that I compose shapes is what that makes me think of, and not just the way that I compose shapes, but that's what attracts me to other artists' work also. And whenever I'm looking at work online, you know, you're going through your social media, and every once in a while there's a piece that really just grabs my attention, and I have to stop and really kind of explore it.
Okay.
It's usually because of that you know, arrangement of shape and value. It doesn't necessarily matter what the picture even is about. It's like an abstract kind of connection to make, where you see this really interesting or unexpected arrangement that demands more investigation.
Yeah. Huh, interesting. Okay. How did you start making art, and why do you make art?
I have been making art, you know, as pretty much what I loved to do when I was a little kid up until now, you know, and I'm sure that's probably an answer you get a lot. But you know, when I was little, I was really into comic books and movies, and I thought I was gonna, I thought I was gonna do one or the other of those two things, either work in special effects or work in doing comic book art. And so I would draw lots of, you know, superheroes and that kind of thing, and then my mom is an artist. When I was really little, it was something that she just did because she enjoyed doing it. And when you know, she started taking it more seriously and then developed it into her career, you know, then it became something that I saw as like a viable, like, definite job that a person can do. And so you know, I decided to go to school just to learn painting, just a very academic, traditional program. And you know, after that, when I came out of school, I found myself, you know, still being interested in the more kind of like science fiction and superhero type of stuff. And so I, you know, eventually learned how to apply those basic foundation skills into, you know, fantasy illustration and that sort of thing.
Okay. Are you at all related to the other Palumbo?
Yeah, so that's my brother, Anthony, and my mom is Julie Bell.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's been something that's kind of always been around.
Yeah. A lot of artwork in your home, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah.
That's cool. What role does the artist have in society?
I think it depends on the artist, different roles for sure. I mean, there's a lot of art that is simply entertainment, and that is a valuable part of society for sure. And then I think there are the artists who push into more serious issues than that, and becomes more, you know, deeper philosophical questions and reflecting on when I interpret art here, not just as visual art, but in all kinds of creative expression, including even like, anything from stand-up comedy to literature to music,
right?
And in all of those different avenues, like critiquing society and trying to understand society and improve, for everybody what that is.
Okay, all right. I noticed you had some customers that I'm a little worried about. Did you want to pause or talk, or I don't want to?
How are we doing here?
We got a couple more.
Okay.
I can pause if you want to chat with them.
Keep going.
Okay. What movies, books, or other artwork in science fiction or fantasy have inspired you?
So like I said, I was always, as a kid, my dad was really into science fiction and comic books, and so he exposed me to a lot of things that I might have even been too young for in some cases. I remember watching The Terminator when I was really, really little, and
okay.
I think a lot of that stuff definitely had an impact on me. And as far as like the kind of stuff that I like to draw then and continue to like to draw now. I love movies in general.
Yeah.
Excuse me one second.
Sure.
But so I've always just had this love for movies that in general I like the stuff that is the science fiction and the fantasy stuff, the stuff that's like visually interesting. Certain types of horror I really like, but really all types of movies and of all eras. I never really got that much into the really early stuff, like going into the pre-sound days. But everything after that, I love noir. I love I feel like the different decades each has its own thing to appreciate about it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Some favorites. I always think of first, like some of my visual favorites. And those would be Alien, the first Alien movie. Blade Runner. One of my all-time favorite movies, just that I've probably seen more than anything else in my life, is Back to the Future.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I watched that, like, as a kid, we would sometimes just, like, watch it and then watch it again right after, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Both of those are pretty close to what I would call a perfect movie.
Yeah.
And so I think also, I was grew up in the 80s and early 90s, so a lot of the stuff from that time period was really kind of like, part of my formation. I love, there's new good stuff coming out too. The new Blade Runner was surprisingly like...
I haven't seen it yet, but I'll see it.
I won't say too much, but I was very skeptical. It's like, I've for the most part been disappointed by any attempts to do something like that I've seen recently, but that one I was like...
It was good.
Yeah, I was very impressed with the way they pulled it together.
Yeah. Okay, and is there an art piece you'd like to create that you haven't done so yet, and what is it?
There's always, I've been working on a series of paintings that I had a bunch of them here last year, and I have just one or two this time around, but I haven't really had an opportunity to work on it much in the past year, which is why I don't have many new ones here with me. And it's this, I've been calling it the Ritual series, and it's these paintings, mostly very, again, like atmospheric, emotional pieces about these kind of like figures out in the woods, and it's not really narrative; it's more dreamlike. Okay. And I've just driving to the show here, I was in the car just like thinking about I haven't gotten to work on these in a while, but I've got, it's not just one, I've got like several in my head right now that once some of the commitments that I have laid out in front of me right now have been completed, I'm definitely excited to sit back down with that and get back into them.
Okay, cool. Well, that's all I have. Any last words? Or?
Thanks so much.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Please visit chrisalvarez.com for more cool stuff. That's CRISALVAREZ.com. Thanks for listening, and keep imagining the future.